UFC 324 is in the books, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the event itself, and specifically let's break down the main event for some technical details for the nerds among us that might enjoy that type of thing. First, let's talk about the event. First one of the Paramount era. How did it go? Mixed bag. First and foremost, we had some weight misses. That's never good, but one of those weight misses was so extreme that the fighter took a faceplant directly to the stage when he got off the scale. That is not a good sign. That's not how you want to start your first event on a new broadcast partner. The Paramount app itself is one step above hot garbage. Maybe it's room temperature garbage. It buffered like 1998 LimeWire. The thing was grainy at times. It was just not a good experience. And the pacing of the event itself was slow. I don't understand the placeholder telling you that we're at a commercial break. Just show me the damn commercial. I'd rather watch that than the Paramount screen. That's a weird thing. I thought we were done with that when we moved past ESPN, but apparently we are not. Also strange is to commercialize or put commercials in place of fighter walkouts in the earlier fights. I would rather see the walkouts. I enjoy watching the walkouts. It's something that fighters look forward to, and I think they should get their moment in the sun and on the television. However, it is awesome that we did not have to pay for a pay-per-view. That is absolutely outstanding. Another real big positive to this event is the earlier start time. Outstanding as well, especially for those of us like myself out here in the Eastern time zone. I love the earlier start time. That's outstanding. Another thing I'd like to give them props for is the multiple sizzle reels. There were some absolutely great promo packages that really set it up and made it exciting, made it feel big. And finally, this event is the first one in about 6 weeks, and it gave it a little bit of that big fight feel that I miss from when I was a big fan in the earlier days of mixed martial arts. You would look forward to 4 to 6 pay-per-views a year, and you would usually get together with some buddies, maybe all chip in at somebody's house or go to the bar and see the fights. And that was so exciting. And now it can be a little bit difficult because there's a fight on every other weekend. And it's funny because back then I would have given anything for that type of volume of fights. And now I realize there was a little bit of the absence making the heart grow fonder effect. And we don't have that so much anymore. So there are a lot of events on the calendar, obviously, and not all of them are strong. So big fight feel. Overall, I'm happy that it's on Paramount. I hope they get the app squared away so that it streams a little bit better. But overall, weight misses happen on anything. You're going to have weight misses at times. Just a bummer that they happen on your first card. So let's talk about that main event though, huh? Let's talk about Justin Gaethje and Paddy Pimblett. What a fun fight that was. I think a little bit more fun than it even had business being. I honestly was a bit of a contrarian when the fight was announced and didn't think it was going to be that exciting. And I was completely wrong. And it was a great fight. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the technical things that both fighters did that were pretty neat. And if you're a young fighter, you'd want to pay attention to some of these things that will kind of help you in your game. Let's start with Paddy Pimblett. Some things that I find concerning with him. Stand up, on the feet. Paddy has a way of pawing with his strikes, with his punches, specifically with his right hand. It's not a straight right. It's not a down the pipe straight right. It's also not an overhand. It's somewhere in the middle, and it comes across slightly pawing. And what ends up happening is he throws it from the shoulder, and he paws a little bit with it, and then he turns the hip over. So he does get full follow through with shoulder and hip, but a more technically proficient way to do that would you want it to start at the hip and let that shoulder and everything come after so you can pop it out and get some good snap. Now, Paddy had a couple of weapons really working for him in this fight, and they had some commonalities. So the two weapons that worked for him very well were the uppercut and the knee up the middle. Both of those things have something very similar. They're very linear. They're coming from a lower altitude to a higher, and they're coming straight up the pipe. So he had the most success with those two strikes. The uppercut was his best hand strike, and the knee up the middle was very strong for him as well. He had some really nice movement. He had some good exits. He didn't put himself in a place to where he could get finished. Now, that is partly technical and partly just pure Scouse toughness. We have to pause for a moment and talk about how tough Paddy Pimblett is. He is tough as a $2 steak, and props to him for not looking for a way out. He's a big star, and there is a reason. And I think to some degree, the toughness that he displayed will only elevate his star power even more. It reminds me of kind of back in the day in Japan and Pride. You could be a big star without having a great winning record or being a great champion by simply showing that warrior spirit. The Japanese fan, they loved that warrior spirit on display, and Paddy had it in spades, and I think he has it just in general as a part of his makeup. I'd love to see him tighten up some of that technicality on the feet. I'd also like to see him leg kick a bit more and use those as exits, and not just the turning and getting out of there, but covering his exit with some type of strike, whether that's a leg kick or a jab on the way out. Those things can be very effective, and I'm quite confident that he'll add some of those tools as time goes on. So not a bad performance from Paddy, just he ran into a Justin Gaethje who added some wrinkles to his game and brought some of the stuff that we know Justin Gaethje does well. So let's talk about Justin. Of course, that guy fights like he has rabies. He's coming with bad intentions behind every strike, and he brought it to him. He had Paddy on his back foot the whole time. He had Paddy in that retreat mode. Justin was advancing. Justin was bringing the heat and keeping Paddy from being able to establish any type of rhythm on the feet. Justin has also added some tighter defense in his later years, and he threw a little bit of that out of the window for this fight, but in general he was pretty responsible with the hands, especially as they closed distance. He got very high and tight with his hands, and that was very smart, so he wouldn't take anything off the chin. He was willing to take something across the body, but that high and tight is what made him vulnerable to those uppercuts and those knees straight up the middle to some degree. One thing I loved about this fight is Justin's use of the front headlock position. There's long been discussion of Justin being an all-American wrestler who refuses to wrestle. That went out the window. Now, he didn't shoot singles and doubles like old school Mark Coleman or something like that. That's not what we saw. This wasn't a Merab Dvalishvili fight. What this was Justin adding this front headlock position off of specifically kind of looping punches. So he might throw an overhand or a hook, and he'd get into this front headlock position and he'd drag Paddy down. And it was exceptionally effective. When you're in a front headlock position with somebody who's heavy, you're supporting their weight and their force on your neck and your traps, and not the strong part of your traps, not the shrugging part of your traps, the raising part of your traps. That's a very difficult place to be, and that takes a lot of stamina to be able to do. So Justin was very intelligent with that particular strategy, and I'd love to see more of that from him. That was really cool, and I think the front headlock position, personally in my jiu-jitsu, is one that is very effective for me. I'd like to see some people use it in the way that Justin did by dragging them down into that position. He got some really effective strikes from that front head. He also was able to just tax Paddy and make it a gnarly dog fight, and that was extremely effective for him. One thing we didn't really see a ton of from Justin were his leg kicks, and Justin is one of the best leg kickers in mixed martial arts. Justin reminds me of a saying from an old Muay Thai coach I had, that if we're close enough to clinch, we're close enough to kick the legs. And that's because of the way that Justin kicks down. He really kind of lifts the heel first and then whips the hip around, and that does give you the ability to leg kick from a very near proximity to your opponent. We didn't see a ton of that from Justin. It's something that is very effective for him. It's kind of one of those deals that got him to the dance, and like to see him bring that back. He was very good in the clinch. For the criticism of him not wanting to wrestle, when he's clinched up against that fence, he was a bully with the wrestling, and it's not traditional like NCAA style wrestling, but what it is a very effective means of stand-up grappling. And of course, that front head was brutal on Paddy for most of the time. He scored some outstanding shots on the feet and followed it up with some ground and pound, but I don't think that was a lack of finishing ability from Justin. We know he's got that even in his older age. I think that was more to the credit of the toughness of the young man from Liverpool, and it was I think he really deserves that, as opposed to saying Justin's lost a notch off his fastball. I don't think that's the case at all. So overall, that main event, man, we could not have asked for a better one. And the event overall was, I would say, uneven. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. The early prelims and some of the prelims were outstanding, but there were some slower fights as time went on, and of course there were the weight misses. Oh, and we can't forget, an entire fight was canceled due to unusual betting activity. My God, at least they canceled it this time, and we didn't have another situation with a fighter moving into the realm of investigation, shall we say. So that was credit to the UFC for doing that. They could have done that last time, but they didn't. Overall, uneven event. I'd give it, a 6, 6.5, 7 out of 10. But that main event was absolute fire. I've actually rewatched the fight today, and it was outstanding. I wanted to look at some more of those technical details that I saw on the feet. So I think that we still have a fantastic future for Paddy. He's going to get tighter on the feet. He's going to keep those elbows in. He's going to get better with his hips, and I think he's going to get more of a straight, powerful shot. Justin, hey, congratulations to the highlight. He deserves that title shot when Topuria comes back. Topuria says, basically, you're screwed. I don't know. I don't know about that. Topuria is very good. What is the layoff for the domestic situation done to him? We'll have to wait and see. Outstanding main event, and sets up a real fun one in the future.